We'll do a little game here. We'll call on the plane or retain. Would I retain you and keep you, and I can make arguments to keep you, or is it time to put you on a plane and we're going another direction? So let's just play this game, and you tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I'll give you my reasons for all of them.
Okay, no pun intended. The Jets head coach Robert Saleh.
I think it's a whiff. I'd put him on a plane. I think they whiffed. I think in a division with 4 defensive coaches, his defense is the only one that keeps getting worse. In an offensive league, he has no connection to Zach Wilson, who clearly doesn't listen to him because he's had to publicly criticize him twice about his interceptions. The Jets their defense is not as bad as this. In fact, there have been moments over the last several years where we like their defensive line. I think Robert Saleh was a miss. I had questions going in. I think Zach Wilson is harder than average to coach. There's some Aaron Rodgers there. I think they whiffed. I think they missed.
Lions head coach Dan Campbell.
I would actually retain. They play really hard. They should have a win or two. They lost to the Ravens on a 60-yard kick. They had the Steelers beat. The other thing is they have the number 1 pick. I think they should stay with Goff for a year. I think I could argue trade that down and get multiple picks. They've got some good young offensive players. 5 of their 10 games have been decided by 1 possession. They played their butts off. And even though I didn't like his introductory press conference, the effort is totally there. They've been in half their games. They're not gifted enough to win those close games.
Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer.
I think he's a great coach. I would retain him. In 4 of his 7 years, he's had a winning record, and that's in a division where you got to play Aaron Rodgers twice. Here's the other thing about Zimmer. As a defensive coach, how does he connect with his quarterback? Like Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson don't work. Kirk Cousins has, I think, a top 3 passer rating in the league. Kirk Cousins under Zimmer has been terrific. It's the best Kirk Cousins. I think Mike Zimmer's a top 10 NFL coach. They've been to the playoffs before. I think they're a playoff team this year. And I do think he's a tad conservative for my taste, but some of that pays off with Kirk Cousins. He just doesn't want to put him in a place to fail.
How about the Broncos head coach Vic Fangio?
I don't think he's terrible, but I'd put him on a plane. Again, in that division where I got Andy Reid and I've got all these great quarterbacks, is he going to be the guy, even if he gets the young quarterback, do you want him guiding him? It's a really good year for offensive coordinators to get head jobs. And if I get a young quarterback, I'd rather have a Sean McVay or a Kyle Shanahan or a young offensive coach. No Bronco quarterback has had a winning record under him. Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, Brandon Allen, or Joe Flacco, and he's won 40% of his games, and the division, to me, is only getting better.
Well, they just fired their offensive coordinator, the Giants head coach Joe Judge.
I would retain him for one more year. I think the team plays hard. He can't get his offense healthy. Saquon Barkley can't stay healthy. I don't think he has a great general manager. I will tend to defend a coach when I don't think he has the quarterback. Belichick got fired when he couldn't get the quarterback right. But they're in a lot of games. You can argue because he was sort of a no-name hire, he didn't assemble the greatest staff. But I think they play generally really hard, and they listen to him. And I just think he's got to get a better GM and a quarterback, so I would retain him for another year.
The Miami Dolphins coach, Brian Flores.
I don't even think this is an argument. I don't understand the discussion. I would totally retain him. Listen, first of all, they ended the year last year playing very good football with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua, and they're on a 3-game winning streak with Tua. And I think he gets the most out of Tua. I think he does as good a job as you can do with a smaller quarterback with an average arm that's not that athletic. The defense remains very good. They doubled their win total in their second year under Brian Flores. So I don't understand the arguments here. He's doing as well as you can do. If you go back to his last, take the second half of last year and the beginning of this year, when his quarterback has been upright, either Fitzpatrick or Tua, they can win games.
All right, the guy behind you, Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll.
He's had a great career, but I think it's over. I'd put him on a plane. He has too much power. The downside to a power grab is you get the responsibility. They're a mess. His defense feels outdated. I've had multiple Seahawks players tell me they think the offense is outdated. They can't now mesh their running and passing game. Russell Wilson's not a big fan. We know that. The offensive line is outside of Dwayne Brown and maybe one of their guards, kind of a rebuild. The secondary is a rebuild. I think Pete's fingerprints were all over the Jamal Adams move, which now looks egregious. I mean, they're literally 30th in offense, 31st in defense. He'd been fired twice before in the NFL. There are arguments to be made that his kind of rah-rah optimistic 24/7, gum-chewing, frenetic pace can wear players out. I think they're in a rebuild, and I think he's been the architect of this roster over the last 3 or 4. He got all the credit early on his draft picks, right? It was all Pete knowing personnel. Well, then he's responsible now, and I think it's a rebuild. I'd trade Bobby Wagner. I'd think about moving everybody but Russell Wilson and Dwayne Brown, and there you go. But I think the Robert Saleh one, people will go, whoa, it's been a year. We've seen this before, where you hire a coach in Arizona, and you just think it just doesn't work. He was a coordinator. He's a defensive guy. It just doesn't work. And when Zach Wilson, you got to get that right now, because you didn't get Darnold right. You got to get Zach Wilson right. Who do you think gives you the best opportunity to get Zach Wilson right? An offensive-leaning coach, a Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, an offensive-leaning guy, or a young defensive guy who we don't even know if he's anything more than a good coordinator? There you go. On the Plane or Retain. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.